Hi everyone, welcome to Java Techie. So, have you heard about the MCP server? It's going viral or trending the internet right now. The AI world is buzzing, people are hyped, and honestly, it's the new kid in the town that everyone wants to talk about. But if you are sitting there and thinking, what is the MCP things? Or maybe you are excited but a little confused, don't worry, I have got you covered. By the end of this video, MCP will feel clear and exciting, not confusing anymore. Okay, so this is what we're gonna break down step by step. What is MCP server? Why it's creating a revolution across different domains? Then high level overview of how MCP actually works, and definitely a hands-on demo where we'll create our own MCP server using Spring Boot. Okay, all right. So let's jump right in and build something cool together. I hope everyone already know how to use ChatGPT, right? So let me try asking something to this AI model. For example, if I'll ask ChatGPT to book a flight for me from Mumbai to Bhubaneswar on 15th August 2025. Now let's see what it returns to me. Great. We got the result. This ChatGPT took 27 seconds to use its own LLM brain, and then what it returned to us? It simply say, I can't place the purchase for you, or I cannot book the flight for you. Here are the solid book option. Okay, on the source and destination and given date, these are the option you can go for. Quick next step, tell me your pick airline preferred time, and I'll walk you through a 60-second checkout on the airline. These are the information. Okay, so he's saying give me your information. I will give some hints how to book the flight, but I cannot book the flight on behalf of you. The reason, ChatGPT is conversational AI. Here is what basically happens. We have given the prompt to AI saying that book a flight for me from source to the destination on this given date. Then it sends that text input to large language model. It could be GPT or Claude. It depends whatever model you are using. And then LLM process it using natural language, then send you back the plain text as a response. That's it. End of the story. But what if I told you things have changed? What if instead of only getting a response, I could say just one sentence like add one 16 Pro Max to my shopping cart? No buttons, no forms, no clicking around. Just plain English, and that's it. The product added to my cart. What do you think? Is this possible? Yes, that's where MCP server comes into the picture. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and it's a super powerful AI framework that lets your LLM model to call external tools or function to actually execute a user prompt as a real action. Okay, so instead of just talking back, the AI can literally do the things for you. That's what the beauty of MCP server. Okay, so don't worry, we'll do the postmortem of MCP in a moment. But before that, first let's see how an MCP server actually helps with a simple example. Let's say you ask to the model, book a flight for me from Mumbai to Bhubaneswar on given date. You also ask him to check for better discount. Now what happened? Your prompt goes to the large language model. Let's assume we are using Claude LLM. The model will use natural language processing to figure out your intent. Basically, what you want to do. In this case, you want to book a flight. That is what your intent. Then it pull out the important details from your inputs, something like this. All the entries what you have added in the prompt that you have mentioned here. Okay, I want to go from Mumbai to Bhubaneswar. So Mumbai will be your source, Bhubaneswar is your destination, and given date is your date of booking and number of person. Since you have defined me, he can easily understand, okay, me means single person, so he just count the person one. Like this, LLM will use his own brain and figure out your intent and extract the entries from your input out of the box. Now that LLM has this information and you have flight service provider called Amadeus, so LLM can simply call your service, right? But here is the catch. It's not like a REST API where you can just hit an endpoint and get the response. The LLM itself doesn't know how to call your services. Now the question here, then how my LLM or cloud model can connect to the Amadeus service? That's where MCP comes in. MCP will act as a bridge between your model and the service provider. So Claude LLM and Amadeus. This MCP will act as a bridge between them. Okay. So if a provider wants the model to interact with them using simple English prompt, then they need to expose a set of tools through their MCP server. When I am saying tools, for now, just think of them as a functions. For example, Amadeus might expose couple of function or tool like this: search the flight, book the flight, or get the invoice of your ticket. Now, since the LLM already extract your intent and entities, you will pick the right tool, say book flight, and call it directly. But does it simply pass the plain text to the tool? No. Behind the scene, what happened? LLM will convert your plain text into JSON RPC format. This is the media type MCP server used. Like this, you can see here. Method is book flight and all the parameters. Okay, and then he will call the correct tool that execute and send response back to the LLM client. Superb. For example, if the user say, I want to go from Hyderabad to Pune on this date, and even he mentioned the time slot, he want to go on afternoon. Tell me what flights are available. Then what LLM does, he is smart enough to figure out your intent, that you are looking for or you are searching for flight. Then he extracted the entities saying that, okay, one person, source is Hyderabad, destination is Pune, date is this, and time slot is afternoon, which is between 12 to 4:30, right? Then it convert that whole entities into JSON RPC request and call the right tool automatically. That's it. Just one sentence from you and the job gets done. Isn't that interesting? Well, so at high level, this is how MCP server works. Okay, so far so good. Now, since you know how MCP work, anyone can create tools and expose them for AI to use. I can create n number of MCP server. If you remember, when we first time learn about REST API, we are so excited. We created a bunch of endpoints, and sometimes we messed up with API, like we define a get method, but inside that we wrote the logic to do save and update operation. The code will work, but that's not the standard format. Over the time, we learn the proper way to define REST endpoints, right? Now, if you see here, while defining the REST endpoint, we do follow some sort of rules or contract. So, if you want to do fetch or retrieve operation, go for get, for save, post, update, put, and for remove the element, go for delete. And also, if you observe, we have some specific status code for different HTTP methods, and also there are some request parameters restriction, right? So well, defining AI tools is just like that. You can make as many tools as you want, but you need to follow some rules so that AI can understand and use them correctly. That's why in November 2024, Anthropic, one of the big AI research and development companies, basically said, you build as many tools for AI as you want. I don't care about it, but you must follow a specific set of rules or contract while designing your MCP server. And that contract is called MCP. Okay, so MCP is not just a fancy name, it's literally a protocol for how your AI model and external tool talk to each other. Okay, so let's try to get some knowledge on MCP rules and protocol. As you understand, MCP stands for Model, Context and Protocol. So here, model means this is simply your AI brain. It could be GPT-4, Claude, DeepSeek, whatever you choose. Its main task to understand your intent and decide which tool to call. Okay. Next, context means give the input or context in detailed way so that your LLM model can understand what's your intent to call the appropriate tool. For example, if I tell to my model, check my GitHub repo and figure out the issue, then see if it was reported before in Slack, and if yes, share it over email. Now, if I'll give this context to my model, what will happen? My model will cry literally. Which GitHub repo you are asking about? You might have thousands of them. Which Slack workspace and channel? I don't have its credential. Which email you are talking about? Does it Gmail or Outlook or Yahoo? So always, as per MCP principle, help your model to help you out with clear context. So give the context in such way so that your model can understand it. Okay. Next, protocol. This is very important aspect to focus while designing the tool to expose for AI. So you can consider this as the language and rules for how the model talks to tools. We define something like this: the message, which is JSON RPC format, then which way you want to communicate with your tool. Does it STDIO or HTTP or server sent event? While defining tool, you also need to define name of that tool, description of that tool, and schema of that particular tool. For example, if I will define the tool book flight, okay, then I need to define the name as a book flight, description, what actually this tool needs to do, schema, what is the input and output format. Okay, so that's it. While defining your own MCP server, you need to focus on these three rules: model, context, and protocol. Now I understand it might be confusing you, but don't worry. When we'll do the hands on example, the things will be crystal clear for you. Okay, how to define the context, protocol, model, everything will be clear for you. This is what all about MCP. No rocket science, no mysterious magic. The internet might hype it up, but in reality, it's super straightforward. Just pair the right model with the right tools and you are good to go. Now, if you connect it back to the flow we discussed, in this flow, if you observe, we are using Claude, which is a model, and context, the input we are giving to the Claude. We can also improve this model, or we can also improve this particular context what we are giving to the Claude. Okay, so that is what depends on you, how you are giving the prompt or context. Okay, then model, context, and what left? Protocol. Protocol is nothing, we are following the proper JSON RPC, we are following the stdio pattern, and we are also defining the name of the tool, description, and input and output. Those things you need to take care while designing your own MCP server. Okay, so I hope this is clear for you. See how simple the concept is, isn't it? If you aligned with me and understand what is the MCP rules and protocol and how it works at high level, then let's go ahead and create our own MCP server and expose a few tools for AI. Okay, so before we jump into the project overview and hands-on demo on MCP server, if you want to explore MCP in more detail, make sure to check out the official MCP page. So if you'll go here, modelcontextprotocol.io, this is the official page. I'll share the link in video description so that you guys can refer it. Here you can find the detailed documentation, architecture overview, server, MCP server concept, client concept. Even you can understand how you can build your MCP server and client. Okay, so you can go through it to get more knowledge on MCP server. So as part of this particular tutorial, we are going to create one shopping cart MCP server where we will expose couple of tools like add product to cart, remove from cart, get products from cart, and get total amount from the cart. So whatever the left side you are seeing, those are my tools. Okay, and what function it does, if you if the LLM call add to cart tool, it will execute something like this: add product to the cart. Okay, so you'll understand that how the LLM can connect to the tool and what business it will execute. So if you try to understand the overall MCP implementation, basically we'll create one MCP server using Spring AI, and then we'll expose these tools. Then as a model, we'll use Claude desktop, which also provide a client interface where we can pass our context or prompt. So once we type in a prompt, the model will understand your intent and extract the entities from your context. Then it pick the right tool automatically and then execute the logic for us. So this is what the simple MCP server we are going to design. Okay, alright. So let's see it in action. Let's create a project from scratch and then we'll define the tools, then we'll understand how we can connect those tools from Cloud Desktop or Cloud Model. So let's go to Spring Initializer. Then we'll create a new Spring Boot project using Spring AI, that is nothing our MCP server. Let me define all this field. I'll name it shopping cart MCP. Then let's add all the required dependency. Click on add dependency. Then type MCP. Make sure to add this particular MCP server dependency. Next, I will also add the Lombok dependency and we will also add MongoDB dependency. Because if you understand the flow, what we are doing here, we have our own MCP server, then we expose couple of tools. Let's say user is giving the prompt, add this particular product to my cart. So when it say add to the cart, currently we are using the database to store that particular product and retrieve it from the DB and do all the operation to the database. Okay, so I'm trying to make it real-time application so that you will get the real feel of MCP server. All good? Generate the project. I import this particular project to the IntelliJ. Now if you'll check the pom.xml, what we added? We are using the latest Spring Boot version. And then if you see the dependency, we have added MongoDB, MCP server and Lombok. And this is what the Spring AI BOM version. Now, since this particular application is my MCP server, I need to define few protocol, okay, or I need to define few configuration. So just go to application.properties file. So these are the key and value you need to define. Now the first one specific to my MongoDB data source, and this is what specific to the MCP server. Now if you see here, Spring AI MCP server type, I am defining it as a synchronous communication. I am not going with async communication at this moment. The MCP server communication type should be sync. Now what is the protocol I am using here? STDIO. Okay. I am not using HTTP or WebSocket. I am using simple standard input and output. So that is the reason I have defined true. Next, if you see here, I have defined the MCP server name. You can define this any name. So basically this name will provide the identification and versioning information to your MCP client. Okay, these two. So you can change whatever you want or which type of MCP server you are designing. Next, if you see here, which type of communication we are using? STDIO, right? Standard input and output pattern. So in that pattern, I don't want to enable this as a web application, so I define it as a none. Okay, even I don't want to print the Spring banner, I keep it as a off. Now logging.pattern.console, I keep it as a empty. What it does, it clear the default logging format to ensure no logs interface with STDIO communication. Okay, so there will be no conflict with the logging. So that is the reason I keep it as empty. But if you want to customize it, you can define your logback.xml and you can define pattern the way we are enabling the logging. Okay, so make sure to define all the MCP specific configuration if you are designing your application as a MCP server. Now we are good to go. Now what we can do, let's create the entity and repository for cart. Now let me create a entity package. So let's create one entity class. I'll name it cart item. Now if you see here, we are having couple of field, product ID, name, price and quantity. And we are using @document annotation. Now similarly, let me create one repository class, cart item repository, and the implementation is very simple. If you see here, cart item repository extends from Mongo repo, and we have defined two methods, find by product ID, delete by product ID. Okay, these are the two methods we have defined. Now the main part will start from here. Let me create another package called tools. Then I will create one service class. I can name it shopping cart MCP service. You can annotate @service to this. Since the service, if you observe here, this particular MCP server or service will connect to the DB. So I'll just inject the repository. We can inject using constructor. That's it. Now you need to define all the tools. Okay. So if you remember, what are the tools we understand? Add to cart, remove from cart, get cart and get cart total. So I will define the tools as part of this particular service. Now first let me initialize few product. So it's very simple. Okay, I have created a map, key as a product name and its price. Consider this as your catalog service or inventory, anything is fine. Okay, this is where we'll fetch the product price and persist to the DB. Now let's define the tool. So if you'll define one tool, then you will get the confident and you can write n number of tools specific to your use case. Public, it's like a method, there is no rocket science. Add to cart is my tool name. You can define any method name, that's fine. I'll take the input from user as a string, product name and quantity of product. Now first what I'll do, I'll check whether the product name what user is trying to add to the cart is exist in my database or not. Let's consider this as this value we are getting from DB. So I'll simply check if it does not contains, then I'll throw some exception or simply return something. Return if product exists, then get the price. Products dot get, pass the product name. What it will return you? It will return you the price. Next, before you are going to add this particular product to the cart, first you need to check whether this product already user added to cart or not. If it is already there in cart, just increase the number. Okay, just increase the quantity. If not, just add a fresh product to the cart. So what you can do, you can simply call the cart item repository dot find by, use this product id. We can set the id as a name, that's not an issue. Pass the product name. First, get it from the DB. If there is no cart item, if in the cart this product is not exist, then create a cart item object. If it is already exist, then get the count and increase the quantity. Okay, then simple, right? You have the cart item, you know the number of quantity it has. Simply set the price. Cart item dot set price equal to, get the quantity, multiply into price. Okay, now save it to the DB. I mean, you can consider as a shopping cart. Return something. This is the quantity, product name, added to cart, total price is this. What I have defined? I have defined add to cart method. Similarly, you can define other methods. Remove from the cart is nothing, delete from the DB. Get from the cart, simply call by ID. Okay, then get cart total, get all the product available in the cart, just evaluate sum of all the product price. Okay, that is what the simple logic we are going to define for other three tools. So to remove, I can only pass the product name, make it public. Then nothing to do, just delete it from the DB and return some message. Now let me define other two tools. Give the product name, string product name. Then you can simply get it from the DB by product name. You can call this. This is what your cart name, cart item, return some string message. Something like this. Now the next tool is get cart total. So what I am doing, I am fetching all the element available in the cart. Then I am just getting all the price, map it to the double and evaluate the sum of all the number. That's the simple thing. Now if you see this particular code, you might ask me, hey, initially you told this is what all the tools we are going to define, but it looks like you have just defined as a method. Is that something called tool? Yes. So the business logic will not change. To make this method as a tool, what you need to do, you need to annotate with @tool. Okay, and what is the name of your tool? You can define that R2 cart is my tool name. You can define any name. Okay, there is no rule that the method name should be same as a tool name. You can define any method name, you can define any tool name. Then what is the description of this particular tool? You remember, when we understand the MCP, the protocol has all the details. While defining the tools, you need to define name, description, what is the input and output, everything, right? So here you need to define the description. Give some meaningful description which your model can understand. So I can define something like this. Add a product to the shopping cart. If the product already exists, it update the quantity. Okay, give as many as detailed if you want. So that is really helpful for your model to understand what your tool is doing. Now these are the two inputs. How can I tell to the model, because at the end this tool is being called by your model. Your model is going to call this particular tool, right? So model should know what is the input to call this particular tool. How you can inform to the model? By using, hey, this is what my tool parameter. Okay, you can define same here. So model will understand, okay, product name and quantity if user is giving, and if I found some context specific to the add a product or include a product or join a product, anything, if I understand the intent what user is trying to do, I will call this particular tool. Okay, you only giving all the information to call this tool. Model will only use his brain to understand what you are trying to do. Then he figure out, okay, this is the tool, I need to call it. Now let's do same for all the methods. Add for this, then define this at the rate tool parameter, then get cut. I will copy this. Here also you can define at the rate tool parameter. Let's do one thing, let's not get a single product. User can have multiple product in the cart, right? So let's change it to list of. So I'll change it. Fine. Then add for this. Get cart total. Calculate the total price of item in the shopping cart. So the simple Java method what we have designed using Spring, we exposed them as a tool using these two annotation at the rate tool and what is the input for that particular tool. This will give information to your model. He can understand this particular language only. Okay. Now we need to register this particular tool so that model can call it. Now how you can register that tool as a bean? Go to the main class. Here you can simply define the tool callback bean. So public you can define list of tool callback. See here it came from Spring Framework AI.tool. You can define shopping cart tool callback. Then give your service name where you have defined the tools, that is shopping cart MCP service. Now simply return list of, you can define tool callback. Now just define this as a at the rate bean. That's it. Now let's quickly validate our application. Just run this particular application. If there is no error or warning, we are good to go. We got some message. Can you see here? So this you can safely ignore because it's showing there is no logback.xml configuration which is not required for our setup. As long as there are no major errors, your MCP server is up and running. Okay, waiting for an MCP client to connect via standard input output format. So we are good here. Now what we can do next, let's generate the jar of our project. So for that what I will do, I will go to the pom.xml and I will build the or I will customize the jar name. You can define your final name. I will define my jar name as a shopping cart server. I will simply run the mbn clean install. You can go here, run the install. It will generate the jar for you inside target folder. Okay, let it complete. Great. So you can see build succeeded. Now if you will go and validate in the target folder, we have the jar with custom name. Now we are good with our MCP server. If you understand, we have created our MCP server. Now what is the next? We need the Claude desktop. So Claude desktop is model for us and it is also client for us. So we need this Claude desktop up and running. That is how user can give the prompt and this Claude desktop can connect to my MCP server. So to get the Claude desktop, what you can do, simply go to the Chrome, then you can type here Claude desktop, go to the first one. Now if you see here, it is available for all the operating system. So just use as per your OS. Now since already I installed it, I can directly open it. Just open Claude. So once you install and open it, you will see this particular UI. Okay, this is Claude desktop client or Claude desktop prompt. Here you can type something, the request will see the flow. If you see here, this is the Claude desktop client. Here you type something, request will goes to the Claude model. Then this Claude model will connect to the tools what we have defined here. Simple, right? Now the question here, how my Claude model will identify what all tools I have defined. So whatever the tools I have defined, it is in my project, it is in my code base. I have not given that information to this particular model, right? How we can provide that? Since we are using Cloud Desktop in local, what you can do, you can simply go to Cloud Desktop setting, then you can find something called developer. Now here you need to add a config file by defining where is your tools available. For our use case, all the tools we wrap inside this particular jar file. So I need to give the path of this particular jar where I define all my tools. Now how I can define that? So for that, you can simply create one cloud desktop config.json and you can define the server name. Make sure the name what you have defined, it should match with the same name you define in your properties file. Shopping cart server. Name should be same in both the case. Next, how you want to execute your jar. Java-jar and path of your jar. This is what the jar we created. Right? All good. Save this particular file. Go to your cloud. Click on edit config. I'll double click on this. Okay. Once you added it, nothing to do. Just close it and restart your cloud again. Since we are doing in local, we are restarting the cloud desktop. Now let me reopen it. So once it reopen, to validate all your tools added to this model or not, how you can verify that, just click on this, then you can find something called shopping cart server. Okay, just expand it and you can see all the 4 tools what we are exposing as part of that jar is listed here. Now sometime what happens, even though you define your cloud desktop config.json, it won't identify your tools. You won't find this shopping cart server or whatever the server name you have defined in this particular section. I am just explaining this because I spent more than 10 to 20 minutes to figure out this issue. Okay, just click on setting, go to developer, edit config. Don't open the file which you saved in your machine. Open the file which you are seeing inside the Claude directory. Just open it. If it has all this information, well and good. Otherwise, you just paste the content. So better what I'll do, I'll just copy this particular file in our project so that you guys can reuse it. So that you can change the path of your jar and you can reuse it. All good. I'm not going to add it again. Go to the new chart. We are good to test our application. But before that, since I am using MongoDB, first let me start my MongoDB compass. And what I'll do, meanwhile, let me restart the application. All good. Now what we can do, let's go to our Cloud UI or the prompt. Now here I will ask, I will give the prompt. See the flow again. If you understand it, now I will give the prompt to this client. Now based on my prompt and the input what I will give, this Cloud LLM will understand my intent and it will extract the entities. Then it will call the tool. Now let's see, based on my prompt, this Cloud desktop or Cloud model is able to figure out the correct tool or not. Now let's say I will give the prompt to add 2 iPhone in my cart. Okay. Now I'll send the request from this Cloud client. Allow once. I will add 2 iPhone to your shopping cart for you. Okay. Now see the beauty here. Great. I have successfully added 2 iPhone to your shopping cart. Your cart now contains 2 iPhone with a total price 159,998. Can you see here? Does it call my correct tool? What I have given here? Add 2 phone in my cart. Now what it understand, okay, user is giving something, the intent of user to add product to cart. Okay, and what is the input user is giving me? If model will try to extract your entities, he understand, okay, user is giving product name as a iPhone and quantity is 2, because that is what we are defining as a input parameter. Model read your 2 parameter, the input what you have given to prompt or context, then it find out, okay, the intent is to add product to cart. I will call this particular tool. Does it call the correct tool? Can I zoom this? Yes, see the result. Now if we'll validate the same, how we can validate whether the product is successfully added to the cart or not? So to validate that, we have created our DV, right? We are using the MongoDB. Let's validate it. Go to the Java Techie cart item, open the cart items, that is my collection. Can you see the result? Does it added product ID iPhone, product name iPhone, price is the value what it display in the client, and quantity is 2. Can you see the result? So the flow is working as expected. Model, the Claude model is able to identify the correct tool based on the user intent, based on the context I am giving to that model. Okay, now let's try playing with this. What I will say, I will ask him again. Okay, let's change it. Don't use the add. You might be thinking, since I am giving add, it is searching the tool name which starts with add, right? I'll just say something include. Give some meaningful message, guys. Just type the simple English. Okay, no fancy, no drastic English is required here. Just give anything you understand. Include 2 boat airdrops in my cart, or I'll change it to the 5. Okay, send the request. Again it call the correct tools, and if you see the JSON RPC request, quantity is 5, product name is this. It called to my add to cart tool. 5 boat airpods airdrops added to cart, total price is this. This is what the message we are returning from our tool, but the response we are getting here is in detailed way. I have not defined anywhere to return me the message in this way, in this format, right? It's giving me the response in simple English. Even though I am a non-technical person, I can understand. Okay, I requested this model to add 5 boat airdrops. So earlier there are 2 iPhones in my cart. Now it added 5 boat airdrops. Okay, the total price for all items in your cart is this one. Let's validate the same in DV. I can directly refresh the collection. Can you see here? Quantity is 5, total price is this. Great, right? Now I will ask this model show me simple English. Okay, I'm not giving any technical specific English. Show me all the items available in my cart. Can you see here? Model use his own brain, understand, okay, user gives some English. From this, the intent of user I identify, he want to call, or he want to check all the product from the cart, and then I found something called get carts tools is present, so he simply call it. What is the input? No input, and this is the response we are returning from our tool. But what response it returns to me? iPhone, quantity 2. See here, the product is there in my cart. What is the quantity? What is the price? Everything returned to me. Your cart contains a total of 7 items with a combined value of this. Now what I'll ask to this particular model, tell me total amount of my cart, or tell me total price. Okay, anything you can define. Okay, that's not the concern. Send the request. Which tool it will call? Get cart total. The total price of your shopping cart is this. This includes 2 iPhone, a price this, 5 boat AirDops, a price this. Okay. Now I will ask this model to remove one iPhone or remove this particular product. I'll not type remove or something like this. I'll say I don't want this product. Now with this particular message, did I specify something? Delete the product or remove the product? No, right? I don't want this particular product. It means the model should understand my intent, what I am trying to do, and he will extract my input, this one. So you can, it's not required, you can remove this number also. Send the request. So it understand, right? Remove cart. Perfect. I have removed the boat AirDoves from your cart. Your shopping cart now only contains 2 iPhone of this price. Shall we validate in the DV? Currently we have 2. Let me refresh it. It deleted the boat product. All the 5 product it deleted. Because that is how I have defined my tools. Since this is just a demo, I have defined the tool in simple way. But if you want to remove, let's say you have added 5 product and you want to remove only 2 product, that is how you need to design your tool. Currently I am deleting everything. So here you can add another tool parameter quantity and you can remove that many quantity from the your cart. Okay, this is the simple demo guys. You can customize it as per your business need. Okay, this is what something I want to show you, how with a single English prompt the things will be execute behind the scene using MCP server out of the box, isn't it? Our simple shopping cart example is just the beginning. The real power of MCP lies in its ability to let an AI model serve as the brain, deciding what needs to be done, while your MCP server act as the hands, executing real world action. Imagine the possibility: it can interact to your local file system, it can control your smart home devices, or it can also execute local or remote database. You can design anything using this MCP server. Thanks to the framework like Spring AI, building an MCP server becomes straightforward and it handle all the protocol wiring behind the scene, so you can focus purely on defining these tools and implementing their logic. Okay, so how simple is this? When first time I heard this word MCP server, I feel something rocket science. Then when I started learning it step by step, first understand the flow, then I understand its rules, then I try implementing different MCP server using Spring AI, then I feel the power of this MCP server. So I would strongly suggest you go through different use case. Don't try the shopping cart what I have tried here. You try with different use case with real time implementation. Okay, so give a try and let me know in a comment section if you have any doubts, or if you guys want me to upload more video on AI, let me know in a comment section. Till then, happy coding. I'll see you in my next video.